Welcome to Beat Diabetes. I'm Dennis Pollock, and today we're going to talk about cooking and a few tips and insights I've gained along the journey of beating diabetes. Now, the good news is you do not have to be a master chef to beat diabetes. Most of us are not. I certainly am not. But it really doesn't help if you don't know anything and you're not even going to make any effort at all to try to cook. You really do need to be able to cook a few things to make your life a little easier. I'll never forget, somebody left a comment, I think it was about his grandmother, and he said that his grandmother had diabetes, and she just decided that the best way to beat diabetes and to live a long life was to eat a hamburger and green beans as one main dinner. For her day, one day, and then the next day, chicken and green beans, and then back to hamburger and green beans, and then chicken and green beans. And, well, you get the picture. Yeah, you could do that for sure, but most of us would find that a bit tiresome and boring, and we might be tempted to fall off the wagon, the beat diabetes wagon, that is. So it really does help if you can make some treats, if you can make a few keto treats and a few breads and muffins and keto desserts, basically some foods that you really, really, really like, and yet they don't spike your blood sugar. And yeah, you say, are there any foods like that? The answer is, yep, there sure are. In fact, there are gobs of them. Just watch this channel and there's a whole bunch of other channels that can do even better than I can as to cooking and giving you recipes, and they just can give you so many wonderful ideas. So, as I've been learning on the go ever since 2002, really. It was 2001 I had my metabolic breakdown. 2002 I realized I had to go low carb and started investigating watching a low-carb keto type food channel on the food program on the food channel. And I've been learning ever since, and it's never been my biggest thing. My biggest thing is just keep the carbohydrates low. But there was just a lot of things I didn't want to sacrifice if I could at all help it. So I wanted to give you a few tips about this. And we're going to make some muffins as an example of how this works. One of the things that is so nice is that you can make things like breads, muffins, mug cakes, chaffles. There's just a whole lot of things you can make that will substitute for the things that you love that you used to be able to eat. And one of the things you'll run into if you watch some of these keto channels is that they're constantly recommending this product right here. It's called xanthan gum. Xanthan gum. Why do they recommend it? Well, if you're going to make some kind of a muffin or a bread type product, and you're going to use a lot of almond flour, maybe some coconut flour, it's going to be gluten-free, and it's not going to tend to hold together the way normal bread would do or a normal muffin would do. They tend to be crumbly if you don't take care and do the right things. And this little gem, xanthan gum, will help your biscuits or your muffins or your bread or whatever it is you're making to hold together. But with xanthan gum, less is more. So you don't ever want to overdo it. Number one, it'll add a funny taste if you do use too much. And number two, it'll make it a funny texture as well. So just a small amount, usually a tablespoon or less than a tablespoon for a pretty good-sized recipe of muffins or something like that. If you're just making a small little single mug cake, you may not need it at all, or just a small, tiny little half teaspoon or something like that. But you got to use some xanthan gum. Psyllium husk is also another product that works the same way. It kind of holds things together. It's the glue that holds it all together, but it's not glue. And you've got to learn to use this. But there was a problem I had in my early days as I was learning to do some of these keto-type recipes. One was using xanthan gum, and the other was baking powder, and that's another thing they recommend all over the place. Almost every recipe, it seems like, because you're not cooking with bread and gluten. So you need something to kind of make it rise. and they recommend baking powder. Of course, an egg will help because the egg will rise all by itself, but they do recommend baking powder. One of the problems I had was when I would hear about a recipe and it would say eggs and maybe some cream and maybe some water and maybe some almond flour and, basically wet and dry ingredients, I would just get my mixing bowl out and start dumping them all in. And I never tried to separate them into wet and dry ingredients. And so when I started putting the xanthan gum in my mixture that was already wet from the eggs and maybe the cream, it would clump together, and it was almost impossible to get it to kind of work its way through the whole mixture. It would just make little clumps. And the same thing was true with baking powder. When I tried to mix that into the mixture and it was already wet, it would just clump up and make little clumps here and there, and it wouldn't smoothly assimilate into the mixture very well. And I'd work and could never really get it. And finally, I began to realize that when these cooks would tell you, mix your dry ingredients here and mix your wet ingredients here and then put them together, I began to realize why that's important. And the reason is if you mix your dry ingredients all by themselves, you keep the eggs in a different bowl, you keep the milk in a different bowl or cream, the water and so forth, and you're just mixing the dry ingredients, you can thoroughly blend your little bit of xanthan gum in there. You can thoroughly blend your baking powder in there along with your almond flour and coconut flour, which is what we're going to do. You get it all thoroughly mixed easily because it's not wet and there's no clumping. And then you're making your eggs and cream in a different bowl. And then after you've got them all mixed together, the wet stuff mixed, the dry stuff mixed, then you pour the wet stuff into the dry stuff, and it all is smooth and there's no clumping. I don't know if there's such a word as clumping, but that's the way I call it. Let me see what other insights. Oh, yeah. One other thing that I've discovered is that if you're going to make muffins, there are some great ways to do it without you having to do a lot of work and a lot of cleanup afterwards. And one of them is, I got these in this, I think it was with this one or a similar muffin pan. And these are small-sized silicone muffin cups, I guess you could call them. And as long as it doesn't overflow onto your muffin pan, these will clean up very easily, especially if you clean them up immediately after you're done getting the muffins out. And these pans, they don't clean up so easy, so that can be a pain. So use these. And then there are also these kind, this is silicone also, but just to make even easier, where you get no residue at all and you just have almost no cleanup at all. Doesn't that sound good? No cleanup at all. I got these the other day. I don't know why I didn't think of them sooner. It's amazing. Sometimes I think, Dennis, you're learning some things at the point where you're an old man. You should have learned this 20-some years ago, and you could have saved yourself a lot of trouble. But, better late than never, I guess. But these are parchment paper, believe it or not. Parchment paper, little baking cups for muffins. And so you can take these and put them in the larger ones. Or even if you've got a metal pan, and metal will have a harder time cleaning up, just stick them in there, put your muffin mix in there, and then you just take it out and you throw them away. And these are not expensive. I got like over 200, I think 225 of these little muffin cups, which is probably going to last me a couple of years because it's not like I make them every other day. And it's like $5 or something. So for $5, I'm good for a couple of years. Can't beat that. So I'm going to be making the larger muffins this time around, and I'm going to make them in this silicone muffin pan, which by itself wouldn't be too much problem. But I'll be using these. So there's another tip for you. Make it easy on yourself. That's my motto. I've had enough hard things in life that anytime I can make it easy on myself without cheating, I want to do it. Let's see if we got any other tips. Oh, yeah, one other tip that I've learned is when you make muffins especially, and I have experimented and changed recipes and trying to make the perfect blueberry muffins, strawberry muffins. And one of the things and one of the problems is you take them out, and even with the silicone, sometimes they're crumbly. The xanthan gum will help a lot. But there's another thing, and that is when you bake your muffins, your keto, low-carb muffins that are not going to spike your blood sugar, and that's what we're all about. That's why I'm doing this little program. It's not like I'm the best chef in the world, but this will help you. When you bring them out of the oven, don't try to take them out. The natural tendency is to kind of dig around with a knife or a spoon and, well, are the bottoms done? And I think I might want a taste of it. And so you pry it out, and then you say, well, might as well take them all out, and boom, 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 boom. But you've only had it out of the oven for a couple of minutes, and a lot of times they'll kind of fall apart. So here's another tip for you. When you make these muffins, resist the temptation to pull them out. I mean, if you have to take a tiny little look just to see if the bottom's done, so be it, but then let it sit back in there. And give it at least 30, if not 45 minutes to cool down and cool off. And then they'll come out and they'll be firm and they won't be the least bit crumbly. And that's what we don't want. This is to avoid at all costs crumbly muffins, but they'll still taste excellent. So I'm going to make some muffins, and I'm going to do exactly what I told you. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I am going to use a dish for the dry, and then I'll use a dish for the wet. So let's start with the wet ingredients. Begin by cracking 3 eggs and blending them until smooth. Then add 1/2 cup of heavy cream. Now add 1/2 cup of water. Stir this mixture until thoroughly blended. Now set the mix aside. It's time to do the dry ingredients. Add about 1 tablespoon or slightly less than that of xanthan gum. Add 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. Now add 1/2 cup of Swerve or your favorite non-sugar sweetener. Add 1/2 cup of almond flour, and then 1/2 cup of coconut flour. Now stir the mix thoroughly until completely blended. Now it's time to mix your wet ingredients with your dry ingredients and stir until you get a nice muffin batter, slightly sticky. Take your time until all is mixed very well. Now place the mix in the baking cups nearly to the top. After that, you can place pieces of strawberry or about 4 blueberries in each muffin. Or you could use blackberries or nearly any other type of berry. Bake in the oven for around 25 minutes at 375 degrees. Bring out your muffins and let them sit undisturbed for around 45 minutes before taking them out of the muffin pan. And voila, you should have some fantastic muffins that do not spike blood sugar. Well, the muffins are done. I took them out of the oven. It's been maybe 50 minutes, so plenty of time for them to cool off. Well, which one shall we try? Let's check this one out. Look at this. Look at this. This just looks beautiful. Has a good muffin texture and feels solid, doesn't feel crumbly. Let me go ahead and cut it in half. Look at how that cuts in half nicely. Those sweet blueberries in there. Well, I think this recipe is like perfection. I think I've finally done it. And between the xanthan gum and the mixing the dry and the wet separately and then putting them together and then letting it sit for 35, 40, 45, 50 minutes afterwards, let me just take a bite and let's see how it tastes. This is great. And there's no law that says you have to put fruit in these. You could, as I mentioned, put chocolate chips in there. Or just eat them without anything other than just the basic recipe and put some butter on it. Another thing is put some whipped cream on it. But I like the fruit. I think the fruit really adds. Let me take another one. Not for you. This one's for me. So I think I've finally done it. I finally am totally satisfied with the taste, with the texture, with the fact that it doesn't crumble all over the place. I mean, this is great. And if you're not, if you just want a small snack, cut these in half and take half at a time with a little coffee. Or you can use them as a side. So anyway, those are some tips that will help you make your life a little nicer. And that's it for now. God bless. See you again soon. If you've recently been diagnosed with diabetes and you've just discovered this channel, let me recommend that you go to our Uploads page, which will give you access to every diabetic video we've posted since we began. As you work your way through all our videos, I believe you'll find the help you need. A link to our Uploads page is in the description.